From this point forward, we're actually going to be building the mobile version of our site first. This might seem a little bit counterintuitive, but modern websites are built with mobile devices in mind from the start. There's two factors feeding into this. First, it's much easier to build a mobile website when you're first starting out because it's much simpler. You don't have to worry about tons of complex features, advertisements, complex layouts, and so on. Instead, you have to reduce a website to its pure essence. Then, when you move your design up to more robust platforms like tablets and desktops, you can progressively enhance your website. This is easier than creating a really complex website on the desktop and then trying to figure out how to jam that experience onto a tiny screen. Second, it's very important to pay attention to the mobile experience. The mobile web is not a small platform. In fact, mobile browsing is on track to eclipse desktop browsing if it hasn't already done so by the time you watch this. It really is moving fast, so it's imperative that we design a great experience on mobile from the start and work our way up to the desktop. For your own reference, here's what my finished mobile website is going to look like. Now, let's jump back into the code and remove that ugly orange background we were using for testing purposes. Now, let's remove the orange background on our wrapper because we don't actually need that in our project. That was just for the purposes of an example. And let's close out this portion of the lesson by styling our headline elements. To do that, we'll first need to select them. I'm going to apply an ID called logo to the anchor element that wraps them. So to do that, we need to switch over to our HTML, and inside of this anchor element that wraps our headlines, we need to type ID, and we're going to call it logo. We'll save that. And then back in our CSS here, I created a little bit of space after our wrapper, and I'm going to again use an ID selector using the hash or pound sign and select the logo. And then inside of the selector, I'm going to make a few declarations. And first I'm using the property text align with the value center. We'll go over that in just a moment. And then I'm setting the margin to 0. Now let's explain what we just did here. I've used the text align property to align the text. So just like in a word processing program, we can align our text to the left, right, or center. I want my text to be centered, so I've typed out the value center. You've probably noticed by now that some properties take values that are numeric and some take words, which are commonly called keywords. So for example, center or none are known as keywords. Some properties like margin can even take both keywords and numeric values, as you see here. When you're first starting to learn CSS, this can be a little bit tricky. But if there are keywords that you can use to fill a value, Workspaces can help you with its code completion features. You'll notice that when I finished typing text align, and I'll do that again just so you can see it here, it will suggest some of those keywords to complete it. If I just use the arrow keys, I can move up and down the selection here, and I can select center and hit enter to actually type that out for me automatically. I don't need to do that manually if I don't want to. With practice and a few websites, you'll start to memorize these, but don't feel bad if you need to refer back to these videos or use a search engine to look them up. Next, I've applied a value of 0 to our margin here. I don't want this element to have any spacing around the edges, so if I just apply a 0, it will apply it to all 4 sides of our element. Now, if we go ahead and save this file here, switch over to our preview and refresh, you'll see that first, the orange background has been removed, but secondly, our headline elements have been centered on the page. We've covered a lot of new CSS properties and values, so let's pause for a code challenge to make sure that we didn't miss anything.